Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining into our session today. My name is Jordan Checketts, and on behalf of the team at Microsoft Surface, as well as our friends at Bytes, we're very grateful that you were able to join in. Now, over the course of the next hour or so, I will be your host and your guide as we learn a bit more about modern work solutions with Bytes and Surface. But before I get too ahead of myself, I do have just a little bit of housekeeping I want to make sure we get out of the way first. First and foremost, we are of course coming to you live via Teams. I'm here in our studio in Seattle, Washington, and as I understand it, it's a bit earlier in the morning for me than it is for our friends on the other side of the camera, on the other side of the pond, but very grateful to be with you guys this morning/afternoon, and I want to make sure you all get the most out of today's experience. So the first ask that I have is for everyone here in attendance, please right-click on me. Right there on your screen, you can right-click on me and select Fit to Frame. That'll assure that Teams will take over the entirety of your screen and that you don't miss a single pixel of our presentation today. Additionally, I crave your participation. Any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns, objections that you might have to anything that is said today, I want to hear it, and we have a couple of different ways that you can go about participating today. First, of course, Teams has the chat function. I have that open to a screen right here to my left, and I am going to have eyes on that throughout the presentation, and any thoughts or comments that you drop in there or questions, I will do my best to answer to the best of my ability. Additionally, we will be doing some slides today with Slido. Now, I'll explain a little bit more on how to use Slido in a moment, but if you have a more updated version of Teams, up in that top taskbar where it says People, Chat, Reactions, that little taskbar at the top of Teams, you might see a little white circle with an S that says Slido. Not only is that where you can participate in our polls, but we can also ask questions there. There will be a Q&A tab, and you can drop your questions there as well. So, a couple of different ways to participate. Super excited to get started. So, without further ado, we're going to do just a little bit of a proof of concept for our Slido polls. Now, again, if you have that updated version of Teams, you can select Slido up in your top taskbar, but if you don't, you can still participate today. On your mobile device or in a separate web browser, you can go to slido.com. If you have a mobile device, you can even scan the QR code here. And the access code for our session today is Bytes. And we're actually going to go ahead and drop the link to slido.com as well as that access code into the chat so that you have constant access to it throughout the session today. And we're going to go ahead and get the party started with an intro Slido poll just to make sure that this is working for everyone. So in a word or two, how's everyone doing today? That's how we're going to get this started with some hopefully positivity, but be honest, if you're not doing well, tell us. Let's see, a word or two. I will say that I am excited and caffeinated. Intrigued, that's a good word. I like that. I hope to maintain that level of intriguedness, if that is an English word, for you. And we'll give a few moments for people to filter in. That's why we're going to practice here with the Slido, just to make sure everyone is able to access it. If anyone is having any questions or problems, you can feel free to drop that into the Teams chat as well. We've got excited, hungry. You and me both. Love it. Excited, intrigued, and hungry. That kind of summarizes my base level. Good. Great. And we'll give it just a few more seconds, and we'll go ahead and move forward. Interested, love to hear it. We've got some great content for you today, so again, hoping to maintain that level of interest. This will be fun. Happy, love it. All right, well, it looks like Slido is working again. We'll keep that link in the chat. The access code is in the chat as well, because we'll have some additional polls throughout the course of the session today. But you are all here because, let's be honest, the world has changed. I don't think I need to tell anybody here that over the last couple of years since the pandemic hit, the way that we have all been forced to kind of adapt to this new modern workplace has been a challenge for a lot of people, and we have seen some major shifts in the way the global workforce works. We partnered with our friends at Forrester to conduct a study that found 50% of employees in that global workforce are intending to remain now in a hybrid work form in some capacity, whether that's part-time in the office, part-time at home, or even full-time at home. Now, 50% is a big number, and we are likely never going to see a return to normal where all employees are coming into the office again. So making sure that we can adapt to this is important, and I'm sure at the forefront of a lot of your minds. We found that 75% of business decision makers within organizations plan to increase their spending on things like PCs and other tech to better equip their employees for success in the hybrid work world, but 80% believe that some moderate to significant improvements in that PC quality is going to be necessary if hybrid work is going to be a success. What it boils down to is having an intelligent and modernized device strategy, providing devices that make work from anywhere a great experience for those that need to rely on the tech. It's at the center of this successful transition. Creating flexible work environments that energize not only those who rely on the tech to do their job, but those whose job is to oversee and manage it. Renewing productivity, creativity, and innovation to reduce friction and workflows and allow people, whether they are in the office or at home, across the city, country, or globe, to collaborate and innovate the same way as before when everybody was in the office, all the while helping stave off burnout by providing employees with devices that they like to use and that allow them to work the way that they most see fit helps retain talent. Not being forced to moderate the way you work to fit a specific device, but rather have devices that enable people to innovate the way that they work and the way they best see fit is something we have put a lot of TLC, tender love and care, into on the Surface team. We understand that for a lot of your hybrid work employees that the devices provided to them are, in many cases, their only physical connection to the office that they have left. When you have people across the globe all working for the company, they can't feasibly come into the office, and that's one of the challenges that we are looking to overcome in this hybrid work world. Making sure that everyone is able to be seen through their cameras, that they're able to listen through their speakers, and in turn be heard through their microphones is more important now than ever. Plus, providing something that they not only like to use, but allows them to be their most productive, innovative, and collaborative is paramount. Something that Surface has put a lot of thought into over the last few years as we adapt our devices to the hybrid work world is our cameras, our speakers, and our microphones. As I just mentioned, making sure that everyone is able to listen in, to speak their piece, and be seen is important. Our crystal clear cameras have patented tuning algorithms. They are tuned specifically to human skin tones. We want everyone to feel that they are being represented as their best true self to everyone on the other side of the camera. We partnered with Dolby to certify our speakers. They are certified either Dolby Audio Premium or even Dolby Atmos, which is their highest level of certification. These speakers for Surface devices are specifically tuned to the human voice. What I mean by that is if you're listening to music that has no voices, if you're listening to your Bach or your Beethoven from the device, it'll still sound nice, but we want to make sure that everyone is able to be heard again as their true self. We understand that the slightest inflection or different pronunciation in a noun or in a vowel or a sentence can completely change the thought somebody is trying to convey based off of region, based off of dialect. So we want to make sure that no one gets misconstrued and that they are able to collaborate clearly through their device. And that comes into play with our dual far field studio microphones as well. Dual, of course, meaning two. There are two microphones in Surface devices that are meant to mimic the human ear so that it creates that spatial awareness of sound. So whether you're the type that likes to sit directly in front of your device at your workstation and just work from there, or if you're more like me, clearly a little bit energetic, a little bit caffeinated, and you're up and you're walking around your device, they are tuned so that they will pick you up and tune out background noise no matter where you are in relation to the device in a given space. So this is some of, again, that TLC, tender loving care that Surface has put into their devices to adapt them to this modern work world. But with that hybrid work comes the challenge of maintaining security and managing these devices across a global workforce. So that is one of the major things that we have heard from customers that we wanted to address, is how do we securely and modernly manage devices when you have employees all across the globe and all across the world? Well, the first thing I'd like to know is, We got another Slido. What is your specific role within the organization? Are you an IT member, someone in procurement, an end user, or other? This will kind of help me gauge where we are at as far as the current understanding of, management of devices. So again, we'll leave this up for a moment so everyone can participate. We've got 2 IT admins so far, 5 IT admins. Love to see it. This will be hopefully, a big use, especially for those in IT when it comes to managing and deploying devices. Wow, look at this. Oh, not quite 100%, almost 100% IT admin. We got 10 responses and 9 IT admins and 1 other. So thank you for that. That is great for me to see. I do think that this is going to be a lot of help and some great use. So I know that we are all familiar with viruses, things that attack the operating system of a device. Microsoft has had antivirus built into the operating system all the way since Windows 8, and every subsequent version of the operating system since has had that same level of antivirus built in. But the malicious actors, the bad guys, if you will, those who are looking to breach your security, take advantage of your employees, leech off your data, they have gotten crafty. And they have switched their focus from attacking the operating system, and they have moved to attacking the area that exists before the operating system even boots. That area is known as the firmware, or the UEFI. And these attacks have become more and more common in recent years, starting in January 2018 with Spectre and Meltdown. Then a year later again in January 2019, an attack on firmware. September 2020, another attack on the UEFI. It started to get so bad that here in the States, our National Security Agency, the NSA, released a statement in September 2020 saying, hey y'all, you should really consider protecting your UEFI and firmware. But that announcement came a little too late, as a few short months later in December of 2020, another attack on UEFI and firmware. So the Surface team has made this a major area of focus when it comes to modernizing the protection and the security levels that we implement into our devices. And we have created what we believe to be the true future of device security when it comes to the UEFI and firmware through the Device Firmware Configuration Interface, or DFCI. I know I'm throwing a lot of acronyms at you, but please bear with me. Currently, only Surface devices are able to manage the UEFI and firmware of the devices via the cloud. That is through the DFCI. With zero-touch UEFI management, you have this next level protection of this area, this vulnerable area of the device that is not available for any other device out there. The DFCI enables you to have the same kind of protection that previously was only available on a physical password on the physical device that you better not lose, because if you did, you could never recover it. So not only do we think that this is incredibly more modernized, but it just makes more sense. It's more intelligent. When you have people working again across the city, the country, or the globe, you can't expect them all to be able to come into the office where IT administrators can have physical hands on the device to set up these level of protections. So being able to defend devices throughout your entire organization, no matter where they're located, is key as we move to this hybrid work world. Now, that UEFI protection through the DFCI is only one part of the multi-tiered approach to protection and security that we have at Surface. In fact, I always like this line: protection and security is built into the DNA of every Surface device. We have this multi-tier here. I like to reference it as a cake with all of its multiple levels. The outermost level, the frosting, if you will, is of course the cloud, which is tasked with remotely preventing, detecting, and responding to cybersecurity threats. Beneath the frosting comes that first layer of cake with the operating system itself. Now, Windows 11 is currently the most secure, safe, and heavily protected operating system that we have yet shipped. And I know what you're probably thinking. It's the most recent one, so it should be the most heavily protected. And you're right. And I always like to throw that out there. So while we have the same antivirus built into every version of Windows since Windows 8, we continue to up those levels of protection. Now we have that firmware protection, which is the next layer of the cake, again offering you the ability to virtually, via the cloud, protect areas of the device that previously were not able to be done in such a manner. And then the innermost layer of a cake, Not sure if the I'm not sure if the metaphor continues to track. Do cakes really have an innermost layer? We'll call it the jelly filling. That works. Is the hardware of the device, the kind of things that you would come to expect the physical device to have when it comes to protecting your data. We have things like TPM 2.0, BitLocker, and biometrics through Windows Hello. I like to draw attention to this because what the Windows Hello enables is now the person can be the actual password to access the device. I know how annoying passwords get. You have to replace it every 6 months, and it has to be somehow 12 characters long while having 16 digits in it, and it has to have your dog's maiden name or whatever, and it gets really annoying and very convoluted. And they're still not considered the most safe way of accessing and protecting data. Through biometrics with Windows Hello, we have things like fingerprint scanning, facial recognition, where it uses infrared cameras to scan the face of the individual to map the entirety of their face. It's not simply taking a picture, it's full-on mapping so it can even tell the difference between identical twins. It has to have a living person in front of it. You couldn't hold up a high-definition picture of me and access my work device that I personally use, which is a Surface device, because it needs that physical living individual in front of it. So we've made those kind of advancements as well when it comes to the protections of our devices in the hardware realm. And Surface has found that their customers report a 20% reduction in security breaches when utilizing Surface devices within their organizations, partnered with all of these other types of Windows and Microsoft levels of protection, and it just offers all that next level security that, again, much of it, if not all of it, is via the cloud as well, unlike ever before, which is going to really be a big step forward as we move to the hybrid work world. Now, we're going to touch on our zero-touch deployment. I just realized that that was an unintended pun, but I love it. And I would love to know how many of you have explored utilizing Windows Autopilot, that zero-touch deployment when it comes to getting devices into the hands and up and ready to use for individuals via the cloud. Looks like we have some currently using it, a lot that have not been using it but are interested to learn more. Well, spoiler alert, but we're about to, so that's good for me to see. Currently using testing phase, perfect. And a lot of people not currently using it, but definitely curious to learn more. Looks like we've got a few answers still coming in, so I'll pause for just a moment just to make sure everyone can speak their piece. Looks like we're becoming a little stagnant, so we'll move forward. Well, the traditional way of deploying Windows devices looked a little something like this. Of course, you would, as IT administrators, a lot of you, I'm sure you're familiar with the process of building that custom image with all the different drivers, settings, policies, applications that each individual or each position needed within the organization, having to then deploy it likely through a sea of Ethernet cables or an ocean of USB sticks, and doing that over and over and over and over again in some kind of purgatory for every single new device, for every single new employee within the organization. This level of deployment simply does not work anymore as we transition into the hybrid work world. Again, when you have employees across the world that might not ever physically set foot in the office or only come into the office once or twice a day, once or twice a week, once or twice a week, and that doesn't overlap with the schedule of the IT administrators, it becomes next to impossible to continue deploying devices in this method. So the Surface team has developed Microsoft has developed Windows Autopilot for easier zero-touch deployment of devices. What this now looks like is you will create deployment profiles. These are very similar to those custom images that you're familiar with. All the same driver settings, policies, applications that are required for each individual or each position within an organization, but this time it can be deployed to new devices within the org without ever having to have an IT administrator have physical hands on the device. You can now ship devices directly to the end users. Everyone within your organization, no matter their position, can get their hands on their device without ever having to set foot into the office, and they can be deployed by IT or by themselves, this deployment profile from home, and be up and ready to go just like that. That's the whole process. That's the whole idea behind our, again, zero-touch deployment. So we're going to walk through a little bit of the life cycle of a Surface device as it might look within your organization to give you a little bit of a better idea of just how this whole process looks. I always like walking through this part. It's very interactive, but let's say you decide to invest in those Surface devices and you want to deploy them with Autopilot. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to work with your partner. You're going to work with your friends at Bytes to tailor the specific solution for your organization. Any Microsoft 365 licenses and other things that suit the needs of your organization and your employees. From there, we can ship directly to the user. We can also ship to you if you prefer, if you want to have them in-house and then divvy them out yourself to your employees, that works, but we can ship directly to the end users within your organization. So everyone, no matter if they are sales, if they're IT, if they're HR, whatever their type of position within the organization, their experience when it comes to deploying their device will be different because you can, with those deployment profiles, again, set specifications for each individual for each type of role. We can get these sent straight to the end user. In our little example here, we have Anna, who just started in the sales department of Kintoso Corporation, and she gets the device shipped directly to her from Kintoso. She is able to pop it open at home. Her deployment profile has already been pre-uploaded via the cloud, and over the course of a few minutes to an hour or two, depending on the level of applications and the different kinds of applications that Anna needs for her job, she will be ready to up and run and begin her long and happy career at Kintoso just like that, without ever having to set foot in the office, without ever having to have an IT administrator directly have hands on her device. Until, of course, Anna leaves Kintoso. Whether she was fired, whether she quits, that's none of our business, but she is no longer employed with Kintoso. From there, her specific device can be re-provisioned and redeployed for future users as many times as necessary. Those new deployment profiles for every subsequent employee at Kintoso or your organization can have their profile deployed to that device, and the device can be utilized for as many people as possible from start to finish until it finally reaches its end user with Raul, who is not fired, who has not quit, and he does have his long, happy career at Kintoso. And then when Raul retires or the device finally reaches the end of its life, we will also then deprovision from your organization and remove the device entirely from there. So that's a little bit of what that life cycle of a Surface device using that Windows Autopilot looks like. And while our zero-touch deployment is incredibly fast and an incredibly modernized way of getting these devices again into the hands of employees across a global workforce, it's not the fastest. If you're sitting here thinking, that's not fast enough, an hour or two to deploy a device via the cloud, I need it to be faster. Well, do I have the answer for you? We also have pre-provisioned deployment. We view this as being great for those in your company, higher ups, the VIPs, the CEO, people who literally might not have the time to even wait on their device for 45 minutes to an hour to deploy. With pre-provisioned deployment, it is very similar to the zero-touch deployment. What happens this time is an IT individual or someone with your partner at Bytes chooses to intercept the device before it gets to the end user. So rather than Anna, again, downloading everything herself, they can begin that process for her. So once they handle the initial downloading process and the time commitments involved there, they can reseal the device. Again, by they, I mean the IT administrator, your partner at Bytes. They will reseal the Surface and with everything downloaded, send it to Anna, who in this instance isn't a salesperson at Kintoso, but she is a higher up at Kintoso who didn't have the time to wait for her device to be deployed. And since everything has already been pre-provisioned, she can go ahead and pop her device open and via the cloud again, finish deploying again in just a matter of minutes. So this is even faster than our zero-touch deployment method. But whether you choose to go with zero-touch deployment or the pre-provisioned deployment, we do have there are some special things involved when utilizing Surface devices through Windows Autopilot. Now, any Microsoft device, any Windows device that is so certified is able to be deployed via Autopilot, but there are these special circumstances with Surface. For instance, Surface devices will ship with Microsoft Signature image already set up on the device. Now, what this means is it doesn't come pre-installed with some of that software you might not intend to keep within your organization. In a nutshell, it's a clean installation of Windows 11 Pro. They also come pre-uploaded with all Office installation files, things like Word, PowerPoint, Excel. Things commonly used within a myriad of different organizations are already pre-installed to a Surface device. So in a head-to-head contest, when you have a Surface device being deployed via Autopilot and another Microsoft Windows device being deployed via Autopilot, the Surface device will still be ready to go and ready to rock and roll faster because the other device will then have to download all of the Office installations once it has been deployed via the cloud. Then, of course, there is the DFCI, that firmware protection that is available only for Surface devices via the cloud, protecting the device to that next level. And we also offer the ability that if you have a faulty device or a device breaks down, we will send you a replacement device before you ever ship back the faulty device. So you get the new device in hand before having to worry about sending it back, and that again reduces that friction workflow for your employees. So these are some of the specific benefits of going with Surface device and deploying our devices via Autopilot. And once you're feeling secure that your devices will remain secure and you're feeling good about how they can be deployed remotely via the cloud, you still have the worry of how you're going to manage all of these devices. We understand that when your workforce is spread out and not everyone's coming in, when you have someone having tech issues, they have IT questions, or there's keeping up with the warranty status of your devices, all of these can be a little bit difficult. So Surface has modernized that as well. Within our devices, we have the Microsoft Endpoint Manager. This includes an array of management solutions, including our old school configuration manager, as well as Microsoft Intune. All of these integrated together to give you a full view of your organization's computing environment and the health of that environment. Located within Microsoft Intune is the Microsoft Surface Management Portal. I like to refer to this as the Eye of Sauron, the all-seeing eye, which I understand is a little ominous, but it's a good analogy because the Microsoft Surface Management Portal allows you to have eyes on every single Surface device within your organization. A summarized view of help desk and support ticket requests. You can view the warranty status of every single device from the portal. There's a curated list of latest news for IT personnel. All of this bundled together to give you the ability to manage your devices not only more smoothly, but with greater integration across a hybridized workforce. Now, we've talked a lot about kind of the why of Surface, some of the advancements we've made with our general devices, the advancements we've made in security and management and deployment. Let's go ahead and meet some of the devices specifically. Now, we've got another Slido question coming up. I would love to know what general devices everyone here is currently using. Whether you're currently familiar with Surface devices or you're using something else, please be honest. Just because we're here talking about Surface, if you're using a Dell or whatever, that is totally fine, and just let us know. We've got some HP users, Surface, Dell, Apple. Dell coming up in second place. We'll give it just a moment more. Dell and HP now tied. Surface coming up in second, and Apple in third. A lot of HP device users, a lot of Dell users. Perfect. Awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone participating in that. We'll go ahead and touch a little bit on that Surface family of devices. I like to refer to this as the Brady Bunch photo, if you will, because everyone is lined up in a neat little row, smiling, happy faces. We're not going to go ahead and dive into every single device in the Surface portfolio today. We could spend hours doing just that. But I do want to draw a little bit of attention to some of the different styles of devices as well as the specifics. We, of course, have our 2-in-1s. These are designed to be the combination of a tablet and a laptop, intended to be full laptop replacements. Devices like our Pro 8 is the first major redesign in the physicality of our Pro line. It enables you to have, like I said, that versatility, that transportability. It can be utilized anywhere, both as that tablet and as the laptop. It has up to 16 hours of battery life, which enables you to work throughout the entire work day, whether you're working in the office, at your home office, or if you happen to stroll down the street to the local Starbucks. These are great for workers on the go. Again, those are our iconic 2-in-1 devices. We have laptops, of course, for those who are looking for a standardized laptop, not looking to fully replace it with that two-in-one device. The Laptop 4 is the ideal laptop for hybrid work. It's sleek, it's ultra thin, it's light, it enables that kind of standard laptop form factor that a lot of people come to expect with the still premium quality expected from Surface devices. Additionally, we have that Laptop Studio. I like to draw attention here because that is our flagship device, the gold ticket device. It's actually the device that I personally use in my day-to-day work life. It is our most powerful Surface device to date. You can run powerful 4K monitors. It comes with different graphics card configurations so that you can run industry standard applications from the device. Again, there are different levels of that configuration, so if you want that kind of power, you can have it, and if you don't want that kind of power, you don't have to pay for it. Additionally, the Laptop Studio enables you to fold the screen down into what we call studio mode, enables you to still utilize it as a tablet with that inking capability that a lot of our devices have. It's a very versatile device. Again, the Windows, the biometrics with Windows Hello. As I mentioned, this is the device that I use, and I alluded to earlier that I'm able to log into the device with my face. Biometrics, of course, is not specific to the Laptop Studio. I'm just giving it another toss out here. And then finally, there are kind of the interesting members of the family. Every family has those members that are a little bit out there, the oddballs, but we still love them. This includes things like our Hub 2S. The Hub is what I'm presenting to you here today. It comes in two sizes. There's the 50-inch screen and the 85-inch screen. The 50-inch screen is shown here. You can set it on a stand. It can be wheeled into different rooms to immediately turn any given space into a next-level collaboration space. These are designed with Teams, with Teams like we're on here in mind. It's in the DNA. It enables you to run conference rooms as if everybody was in the actual conference room. You can open whiteboards in a Teams meeting, and people, no matter where they are, can write on the same whiteboard. The 85-inch can be mounted on a wall. It's seriously, when you walk into a room with the 85-inch hub, it feels like there's a car mounted on the wall. It's this huge device that can, again, enable you to collaborate to that next level. It's modular. The compute cartridge is located on the back of the device so that if you are having any issues, you don't have to send the entire hub in. You can remove that compute cartridge and have that serviced individually. Lots of great things to say about the hub. And then I'll also call out the little guy. The Duo 2 is our mobile device. It has two screens that enable it to fold on its hinge. You can utilize it in a myriad of different ways, different applications to run to have that in your pocket. So that is a quick overview of, again, the Brady Bunch member of the family. If you want to learn more about some of the specifics of these devices, don't worry. At the end, I will call out a couple of resources that you can use to dive even deeper into our family. Now, there are also a number of different additional applications that you can add to your devices to just increase that level of collaboration, the level of use. One of the things I like to call out here, because I personally am very proud that this application exists, is the Surface Adaptive Kit. Now, what this kit is Surface understands that not everybody within an organization has that same level of ability. Those of us who are maybe more typically able take certain things for granted when it comes to interacting with devices. Things like lifting the lid of a laptop, opening the kickstand of one of our two-in-ones, the ability to locate the correct key to start typing, or connecting the correct port to the correct charger. All of these things might be taken for granted, but they're not inherently easy for everybody. And we want to make sure that everyone, no matter their level of ability, is able to get the most out of a Surface device. So that's where the Surface Adaptive Kit comes into play. With things like keycap labels, three-dimensional bump labels, port indicators, and different openers and pulleys that can be connected to the device to enable you to lift up that screen, open the kickstand, connect the correct port to its charger. Everything that I just listed, the Surface Adaptive Kit is there for everybody, no matter their ability level, to utilize their Surface so that they can interact with their colleagues, collaborate, innovate, and work at their best capability. So that's something that I've always found very, very intriguing and very important. Speaking of importance, we also understand that in our modern society, for a lot of individuals and a lot of companies, keeping the earth in mind is of the utmost importance. It's on the forefront of a lot of our minds. I mean, I'm young. I want the planet to be around for the foreseeable future and for my kids and my grandkids to have a bright future to look forward to. So Surface and Microsoft as a whole have some bold goals when it comes to environmental protection. By the year 2030, Surface commits that every one of their devices that we manufacture and its packaging is going to be 100% recyclable. Not only the packaging that the device comes in, but the actual device itself and all of its components by the year 2030 will be 100% recyclable. Additionally, Microsoft by that same year commits to be a carbon negative company as well as achieve zero waste status. Don't want to cross that out, trying to underline it here. There we go. Achieve zero waste status by the year 2030. So again, a company that has these kind of goals, we understand how important it is for a lot of other people and a lot of other organizations to remain environmentally conscious. And these are the goals for 2030, but that doesn't mean we haven't already begun to see some major improvements and some major results from our environmental commitments. In fact, we have achieved EPEAT Gold and Energy Star level certification. This is the highest possible EPEAT rating available. This is across the latest line of Surface products and that Energy Star certification as well. So we are already seeing these results when it comes to our environmental commitments. All of this work, all of this TLC, the tender loving care that I believe I've called out several times in this presentation. If you can't tell, that's my buzzword of the day, but it has all shown some serious results. Again, partnering with the friends at Forrester, we have found that 80% of Surface customers find that the utilization and deployment of Surface devices within their organization helps position them as a top employer. People want to work for companies that provide them with the devices and the necessary tools needed to be successful. That comes into play here where 82% of our customers said that Surface devices helped improve employee retention. We talked about that at the beginning when coming up with that modernized device strategy. We want people to be able to not have to work the way the device wants, but rather have the device work with them and adapt to them. So again, providing those devices that enable people to work as their true selves, to innovate and collaborate, helps increase that employee retention and stave off the burnout. All the while, 86% agree that Surface devices improved that employee satisfaction. So that kind of wraps everything that we just spoke about up in that nice little bow. The nutshell is people like to work with Surface devices, and organizations that provide them see these kind of improvements in their employee satisfaction, their employee retention, and their overall employee experience. Now, once again, we have talked a lot on the number of our different Surface devices here. At the end, I will shout out places where you can go to learn more. I also want to remind everyone about the ability to ask any questions that you have. We've got a little bit more to cover, so we're not just wrapping it up here, but I just want to shout out, we have that Teams chat open. Of course, if you've been asking questions in the Slido Q&A, we will get to those in just a minute as well. But there's your little reminder just in case. If there's no questions, that's fine. It just means I'm doing a good job. Now, we are going to take a moment here as well to cover some of the specific offerings positioned by Bytes Managed Workspace, BMW. Now, BMW has a full rounded life cycle of services that they offer. These include pre-provisioned services, Surface service, love a tongue twister, pre-provisioned services including device refresh, different platform configurations, user profile management, and the like. You have got device management services with a number of different operating system and application patching and upgrades, the ability to monitor for security threats and increase your security management. You have got device support with different remediations, device boot remediation, user profile remediation, application remediation, different kinds of security incident alerting. You want to be made aware when a security breach happens, so having the ability to have those security incidents be alerted to you directly is definitely a plus. And of course, pardon me, we're going to... Looks like the hub is giving me just a little bit of trouble. We're going to hop right back to where we were. There we go. And then, of course, the deprovisioning services, including the device decommissioning from your organization, remote device wipes so that you can have the slate wiped clean on one of your devices remotely as well. So this is just kind of an overview again of that BMW Service Lifecycle, the different kind of rounded edges of BMW's offerings. The goal here is to improve the overall experience of everybody within the organization. You have got both one-time services and ongoing services offered by Bytes. One-time services include base-level services that are designed to streamline the order to install experience, reassignment services for streamline the movers and levers experience, and of course those decommissioning services that are designed to streamline the end of life of your device within the organization. And then, of course, the ongoing services, off the shelf, if you will. There are both first and third line and second and third line. First and third line services are fully outsourced support from your organization, while second and third are partially outsourced. And I want to call out this point as well, that in addition to the off-the-shelf services, Bytes also is able to design a bespoke service around your exact needs, so you can tailor your needs and the services necessary to your organization. Here is kind of an overview, if you will, of the different support levels, the first through third lines that we went through. So you can draw your attention up here to the first line, second line, and third line. You've got a number of different services available. To learn more in depth about these, you can always, please, at the end, I will shout this out as well, but reach out to your Bytes representative to learn more. There's second and third line services like platform incident management, platform change request, end user compute maintenance, and compute upgrades. Frontline support with the first and third line for end user compute service request, end user compute incident management, and the like. Now, BMW has the rate card available, which I'm going to shout out for you here. They would like you to know the different kinds of costs involved, both in Plan A and in Plan B. Very upfront about it for their different base services, reassignment services, and those decommissioning services. So you can see these different check marks. All of these are offered for £30. These include the green button testing, asset tagging, asset register and autopilot enrollment. This is again within Plan A. There's also the device dispatch tracking. For £50, there is the Plan A reassignment, which your device can be recollected and reprofiled through that autopilot re-enrollment, and then again dispatched to the end user. And again, for £50 is the decommissioning of the device. And in Plan B, similarly, for £50, a lot of this, the asset registration, you have got asset tagging, £65 for the Plan B reassignment, and £50 down for the decommissioning. So a number of different plans available depending on what best suits you, your organization, and your needs. Again, if you would like more in-depth information, please reach out to your Bytes representative, and I'm sure they would love to tell you a little bit more about some of the solutions that we've covered today. They do have minimum license requirements, Windows 10 Pro, Active Directory Premium, PI, and Intune, so things to keep in mind. But at the end of the day, the whole point for Bytes, the whole point for BMW, what they're aiming to do is to solve a lot of the key problems faced by a lot of organizations. You have user satisfaction in mind, predictable billing, management, productivity, security, and compliance. I'm sure a lot of these are on the forefront of a lot of individual and a lot of companies' minds. So these are the goals that BMW aims to help you solve. And again, if you're interested in learning more, there are some next steps available. You have got Microsoft-funded workshops where have your account manager submit the tenant ID, and you can select from a myriad of different workshops, endpoint manager, security, compliance, identity, and collaboration workshops. And there are also BMW EUD workshops as well. Overview presentations of modern device management, deep dives into existing endpoint estates, different application reviews, and security policy reviews as well. So again, coming to protecting your devices, learning more about that as well. So that's just a quick overview of some of the offerings from Bytes. we really appreciate you all taking the time being here today. Now we're about to wrap up. Again, don't everyone go bailing on me. We have just a little bit to finalize here, but we've obviously covered a lot of different things during today's session. We've looked at the why of Surface, the advancements that the Surface team has made in preparing their devices and creating specific devices tuned for the needs of the modern work environment. We looked at our modernization of the deployment, security, and device management portions. I know that we had a lot of IT administrators within our audience today, and I hope that you found that overview, especially of the way you can now manage and deploy devices via the cloud, to be insightful. And of course, we touched not only on the Surface family of devices, but also a lot of the offerings from Bytes as well. If you have any additional questions, please, you can drop them in the chat. We've got a couple of questions, it appears, dropped in from our Q&A section of Slido, so we'll go ahead and take a look at some of these. First of all, how many times can a device be re-provisioned and redeployed? Thank you for asking. I'm going to go ahead and assume that is referring to via Autopilot. And again, within your organization, if you have somebody leave, or if you have somebody no longer working there, that device can then be re-provisioned and redeployed as many times as necessary. You can upload those deployment profiles to the device as many times as you need to get each new slew of employees up and ready to run. When will Autopilot pre-provisioning include deployment of Windows feature releases before the device is shipped to the end user? Now that is a very good question, and I appreciate the ask from Peter. Now, I don't specifically know exactly when we expect that. I apologize that I don't have the direct answer for that, but please stay tuned for more. We will make sure that these kind of questions get answered. Just keep your eyes peeled, I guess I should say, for further announcements. And when will Endpoint Manager be able to deploy firmware updates to leading non-Microsoft devices? So currently, again, another great question, currently that kind of firmware protection and the ability to oversee the firmware via the cloud is only enabled for Surface devices. I cannot personally speak to when that kind of protection and when that kind of management for the firmware will be able to be deployed to non-Microsoft devices as well. I only know the Surface side of things, but again, I appreciate the participation. And if there are no additional questions that I can see, we're going to go ahead and hop on over to here. Now, as I mentioned, if you have any further questions, always feel free to ask them. We are always here to answer more, as well as please reach out to your Bytes representative to learn more about their offerings and some of the solutions we discussed today. If you would like to learn more about the specific devices, I know we did a quick overview of the Surface family, please go to exploresurface.com. There are 3D models that you can interact with for every single device, the ones we spoke of and some of the ones that we didn't, so that you can interact and explore the devices from there. And we're going to go ahead and drop into our chat one last link to our post-event survey. That is presenting.live/Bytes and Surface survey. Please go ahead and follow that link. We would love to hear your honest feedback, what you thought and felt about today's session. And with that, it's been an absolute pleasure. Again, my name has been Jordan, and on behalf of our friends in the Microsoft Surface team and our friend at Bytes, we really appreciate everybody taking their time to be with us today, and I hope that you have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thank you.